All right, guys, joining us here on the program is a longtime friend of the show who will be taking on Nick Rodriguez at Polaris 12. Former Strikeforce and UFC champion Luke Rockhold is in the house. Welcome back to Submission Radio, Luke. How are you?
Good to be back, boys.
So, Luke, a wild Luke Rockhold appears. Obviously, it's no secret we've been wanting to get you back on the program for a long time. And we see you got the chew toy in hand. We saw recently you were, I believe, on a first class, well, now it's gone, but you were on a first class flight with your dog Lucy, eating some kind of dinner. What's the deal with that, man? Is this the life of Luke Rockhold these days? Flying first class everywhere?
I've never been scared to live my life. What can I say? Can't, and why can't she? If I'm gonna live, she might as well deserve it too. More so, it's the convenience of life. I'm not the type of guy to put my dog underneath. Plane, and I had to go back and forth to East Coast a little bit. So, yeah, she had her own flatbed flight. Why not?
So I guess, aside from flying first class and living your life, we saw also on Halloween that you went dressed as yourself. Take us into this, man, because when I saw the furry jacket, I thought, is this a regular Luke Rockhold dress up? Is this how you dressed up day to day? Going to get milk, doing the groceries, furry jacket and no t-shirt.
It's typically my coffee run, but every once in a while a double on the night outfit. Same.
We imagine there's a lot of treats, not much tricks when you go outside dressed like that, Luke. How was the Halloween night? Did you have a good Halloween 2019?
We had a pretty good one here. Yeah, no doubt. Definitely took down Hollywood. It was a good time.
Where did you were in Hollywood for Halloween? What did that look like?
Looked very similar.
You look like Brad Pitt from Fight Club. It was like Tyler Durden edition of Luke Rockhold, man. I wish I could rock that.
I might have to bring it back sometime, Never know. But we had a good time. It was a good old time here. You know what I mean?
I feel like
I tend to find a way.
I feel like if you're looking for an entrance for Polaris 12 and you want to make some heads turn, the jacket makes a return. What do you think, Luke?
You're going to have to wait. You're going to have to just wait and see.
Well, we've obviously got a lot of questions regarding Polaris 12, and we're excited to see you come back, man, because it's been a little while since UFC 239, and of course we've been dying to chat to you about it. How do you look back on that fight, now that it's been quite some time since it?
It was just, it's not exactly what it used to be, I guess, for me. I felt like I rushed things. I wasn't as relaxed. I tried to force an easy way out of the fight, which I thought would be a lot easier. And then I got caught up in that style, and I paid for it. So I believe, obviously, if I fought a different fight, maybe it might be a different story. But I don't have the passion I once had. There's a lot of things that go into fighting, and politically and everything else that goes behind it. So I don't know. I just, it's not the same as it used to be. I don't have the hunger and the passion that I used to have for fighting at this time. So I'm going to take a long break, do some, this is just kind of fun for me. This little Polaris thing, it just happened to pop up. They kept asking me about it, and it's fun. It's an opportunity to go out and kind of keep myself goal oriented, kind of go train, but not take it crazy seriously. It's Jiu Jitsu, so it's not a fight. It's not a fight. This is not like my comeback. This is Jiu Jitsu. And everyone, everyone wants to call Jiu Jitsu fighting, but it's not fighting. It's definitely not.
Yeah. It's fascinating here you talk about sort of not having that passion that you did in the past. When did that sort of begin for you? Because I know that you had a lot of injuries that you had to battle back from. Was it anything to do with that or the layoff? When did you sort of first start feeling like this?
It's been going on for a while, I'd say. But, I think once you reach the top, once you reach your goal, and that's in fighting especially, it's like there's a sense of relief. And coming down off that and trying to find that hunger and the passion to keep pursuing this lifestyle, which is fighting, it's tough. I don't know. I've been fighting for a long time. I was the top of the chain with Strikeforce, but there was still that if and that the what if and what all the questions that everyone had. And so to go out there and prove myself in the UFC, to obviously take a hard loss from Vitor and climb back up and take it. It's a different mindset proceeding and following that. And I don't know. I'd say after that, at that point, it was a little different. Everything was a little different.
I mean, you mentioned the fact that you kind of rushed back because you talked to us about the fact that it was a great opportunity. UFC 239 being on the same card as Jon Jones, it all made a lot of sense. But what can you share with us in terms of physically where you were at going into that fight? I mean, I know no fighter is 100% when they go into that octagon, but were you dealing with any physical issues going in there that were sort of substantial?
I was relatively okay. I think it's obviously my leg is the biggest compromise. Having that and dealing with that through training camps, hoping it's going to hold up and having to tape it up and do all that kind of stuff. It kind of it changed the game plan a little bit where I didn't want to get into a long drawn out brawl and potentially open that up. So, the game, it was just go. I knew if I got that takedown, I mean, it would have been over. And I overcommitted to that and over pursued that. And then it just kind of got me stuck in that realm. And then I paid for it. So it's a sign for me to kind of separate myself and move on with some other things at this time.
Well, I'm just wondering, what was it like fighting at 205 compared to middleweight? Were there many differences? Anything that surprised you physically?
They're a lot slower. It's a bit different. The strong guys too, of course. Me bulking up and going into 205, I'm still a smaller man, believe it or not. I don't care what you look like out there. I mean, I'm struggling to hold 218. So
wow.
I mean, it's different trying to get up to that weight class. It'd be nice if there was more, but there's not. Cut in the middle of it all. So. Strong guys, tough to manipulate and move around, but I think I didn't catch the whole fight, but it sounded like Jacare had a hell of a time trying to get him down this weekend too.
Absolutely, we want to touch on Jacare, but just wondering with your fight with Jan, there was that kick that he landed. It kind of sounded like it was on the buzzer or just after the buzzer, and I'm just wondering how much of a factor was that for you? How much did that sort of affect you? Because when you were going to the corner, it seemed like it sort of landed pretty flush in that one.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely. You wanted to deny it in that state, but it definitely clipped the top of my head. So I kind of, it was stupid of me. I knew I had the round kind of locked up, and I was just gonna try to. I didn't really care about the end of the round, and I was too. My muscles were probably filled up with blood and a little slow at the time, and I didn't react as quickly as I could out of the clinch. And then I got clipped at the end of the round when I was just trying to close the round. So my fault, my mistake. I take it, and it happened. Yeah. It definitely changed the second round for sure.
Health-wise, how are you doing at this point? Because like we mentioned, you had the leg for a long time, and from all the reports that we heard, you might have had a broken jaw after the Jan fight, which is one of the reasons why we wanted to get you on video, just to make sure that the sexiness factor is still there, and it's still there. But how are you doing health-wise, and how is the jaw?
I'm well. Yeah, we got a little crack, and had some good people to help me out with it. So everything's fine. So my body's doing pretty well. I've been working pretty hard with Bushesha and a few guys, so that'll tighten up the body a bit. But all in all, I'm good. My body likes it when I don't kick. I think my legs are so fucked up over the years of kicking and battering my legs. They're responding well, with the lack of abuse.
What's it like being back in training? And I'm wondering when you sort of got back, and is it how different is it now training for a grappling comp as opposed to a fight?
It's a lot nicer, you know. And I wouldn't say I'm back in full training or nothing like that, but it's fun. It's fun for me to get out there and just kind of roll around and choke some people out. You know, I don't take this stuff like as seriously as all these other guys. Like it's their job, it's their life. This is just fun for me, and it's just a way to kind of keep myself goal oriented. You know, keep myself driven. So.
I know you're working with Henry Hooft there at the Combat Club. I'm just wondering, what was his thoughts when you mentioned you were going to take a break? Is he sort of on the side of things that wants to see you sort of make a comeback and have another fight?
I wouldn't say that. They're all very receptive to my choices and what I want to do. So yeah, just everyone's on board. Everyone's understanding of it. It's not like an easy situation, obviously. So. I'm dealing with it exactly how I deal with everything else. You know, I move on and I fucking conquer something else. So
of course,
I try not to get distracted. I don't get deterred, and focus on something that's going to keep me going.
And of course, that is Polaris 12. We saw that you told Ariel Helwani back in October. You have no interest in fighting right now, and obviously you just mentioned that to us as well, but is there much of a change in feeling between October and now, or are you still feeling pretty much the same way? Like I imagine being in the training room and doing your grappling, getting ready for a competition in Polaris, maybe there's a part of you that's starting to miss it a little bit.
I'm good. I'm good at this time. I got a couple movies going on right now, and it's kind of nice to act it out rather than play it out. So. I got a couple companies, and so yeah, I'm just kind of getting settled in, getting some roots back home on the West Coast, and this feels good. Feels good to be back here on the West for a while, definitely.
So I guess just to clarify this break, because I get the sense that you're a guy who doesn't really like to close doors, and so you don't want to rule out the possibility of a return. But is there a possibility that you know UFC 239 was the last time that we saw you in the octagon, and sort of what would that depend on for you to potentially come back?
Yeah, anything can happen. Anything could happen. So, you know, it's like you can't fight for the rest of your life. If things change in my mind and I feel like I want to pursue in my body, there's a weight problem with both weight classes being caught in between weight classes and where you want to go, how you want to, what makes, you know, where you feel the best. So I'm not going to do it just to go do it. You know, it's if I felt good enough to go compete with the best guy, you know, in either prospective weight class, that would happen.
Would you?
So, but otherwise right now I'm enjoying kind of pursuing other things in life. You know, there's a lot left for me to do. I can do a lot of things in life. And unlike the rest of these guys, they're pretty stuck in their world. I'm not trying to beat it into the ground. I don't need to. I don't have to.
Well, I think that's what separates you from a lot of guys. Like we saw on your Instagram, you know, you just recently filmed a commercial for Ralph Lauren. Like you mentioned, you got the movies, still got an avenue for competing. So there's a lot of other things going on in your life. If this was it, and if this was, you know, if you never fought again, like you mentioned, you were a former champion in multiple organizations. Would you be happy with the career that you've carved out with yourself if you never fought again?
I'd look back with no regrets. It's all part of the process. It's all part of the journey, and you move along and you learn and you move forward. So, I'm a happy person, content with where I'm at, and I'll let the future decide.
I know that guys like GSP have sort of put a time frame on their return. You're in your 30s, but you're still relatively young. Is there a time frame that you're giving yourself to make the decision that, okay, when I get to this certain age, that's it? Like, I'm not even going to consider it anymore. Is there sort of like a mark in your head, like a sort of time frame that you give yourself to make the decision of whether or not you'll fight again?
I'm 35, but I feel like I'm younger than most of these guys in their 20s. So I'm healthy, and I'm just living my life. I'm gonna do what I do for now, and you know, if it comes back at some point, so be it. But I don't foresee that at this point. I'm pretty happy what I'm doing, and jumping into some other paths. There's lots left to conquer.
Because I know the one scenario that a lot of people are talking about, my friend Luke, is we know Chris Weidman didn't have a great move up to light heavyweight, but this is a fight that people have wanted, the rematch that people have wanted to see for quite some time. Would you see a potential scenario that if down the track things are going good, you would consider fighting that man to sort of finish up that, I guess, rivalry that you were looking to do? I mean, you guys were supposed to rematch each other before. Would that be something that you think would be enough to sort of make you interested, or is that not even enough for you to really think about it?
I don't really have it in me right now. I don't feel like it's a rivalry. It was 1-0. So you know, I wish the best for Chris, and you know, I have no interest in pursuing that at this point. So I just fighting it kind of consumes your life, and you can't focus on other things. And you know, it's nice to take a break. I've been doing this thing for so many years, almost 14 years now. So I'm chilling. And I'm working on other businesses, working on other ventures, and I'm having fun doing it. It's nice to have that kind of off your shoulders. You know, I get to enjoy my family, my friends, and not miss out on everything just because I got a fight coming up.
No, absolutely. And of course, Christmas, New Year's, all that good stuff coming up after Polaris 12. You mentioned Jacare and the fact that he sort of struggled to get Jan down. We saw Chris Weidman had a bit of a rough move up to light heavyweight as well. What do you make of a lot of these guys sort of trying to move up in weight class and things not really working out for them?
Weight issues, trying to make weight. For me, I feel like I'm killing myself to get down to 85. So I don't see. Yeah, that was my reasoning. More weight classes, add them in. Where's that 195-pound weight division? Then maybe I think about coming back.
Oh, there you go. It's funny because people have been talking about that since like the Rich Franklin days, the 195-pound weight class. I think a lot of fighters like yourself would love to see that one come back. I'm just wondering, you know, with Polaris, what do you think of your opponent in Nick Rodriguez? You mentioned it's not a fight, it's a grappling comp. But what do you think about Nick as an opponent? I think a lot of people are excited to see you get back to your grappling ways, man. I think people have this idea of you terrorizing people on the ground. I think it's going to be very exciting at Polaris.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very exciting. I think this grappling world, it's somewhat suspect these days. And, you know, I'm going to have some fun with it. This kid, Nick, I haven't seen too much of him, really. I didn't even know about him until the Abu Dhabi. Seemed to fare for himself pretty well, took second. And I've done a little homework. He seems to bully guys around with his wrestling. And is like decent high school wrestling, which doesn't mean too much when it comes to when he wrestled with the big boys. So, I mean, he's a good wrestler for Jiu Jitsu. I think you'll find that I'll be able to push him there. I'll be able to get takedowns if I need them. And then when it comes to the grappling, you know, I'm a physical guy, and a lot of these jiu-jitsu guys aren't physical, and I can match them in so many ways there. So I'm excited, man. He's not one of those stupid leg lock guys that just kind of pull guard and butt scoot. This whole modern day jiu-jitsu thing kind of pisses me off. So it's pretty stupid, all the sport jiu-jitsu where the guys just all leg lock based, and they just compromise themselves trying to get these foot locks. And so it's nice to have a guy that's going to actually go toe to toe, at least.
Oh, for sure. You mentioned suspect before, the jiu-jitsu. What exactly did you mean by that?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, well, I mean, Casper brings it up, but like, yeah.
Jiu-jitsu it's a weird thing these days. I don't know. Not a lot of rules.
Okay.
All these guys, you know, these football. I don't know. I can fare well if I dedicate myself and do this thing like I really want to. Nick Rodriguez shouldn't be a problem, and neither should a lot of these guys.
Well, I mean, okay, so a couple of things that people talk about when it comes to the grappling right now is, you know, obviously a lot of guys aren't being tested when they're competing. And you see guys like Gordon Ryan, okay? You see guys like Gordon Ryan. I'm not saying that the guy's a cheater or anything, but you see some of these physiques
You see this kid Nick Rodriguez versus Gordon Ryan? He's the biggest boy in the game.
That's right. So you're kind of coming in on the deep end. What do you think about sort of dipping your toe in an industry that's sort of littered with historically guys that have used PEDs?
It's grappling. I don't know. I'm going to enjoy beating them. That's what I'm going to do.
It's interesting sort of hearing you talk about it because, like, while you've sort of expressed how you're not that passionate about fighting, I hear a lot of passion in your voice when you're talking about grappling. And you sort of said how you expect to do farewell.
Is he trying to break out of Alcatraz right now?
Wow, someone calls Lucy a biatch.
My friend doesn't realize I'm on an interview.
Love it.
I got some visitors.
Love it. He's seeing Lucy in Alcatraz.
I think he's talking to Zoe over there.
Okay. Okay. But I was going to ask, do you feel like this is sort of I guess a rebirth in your competitive spirit, right? Like everything that maybe you once felt for MMA, you're feeling now about grappling because you haven't been the champion in grappling, and that's a new pinnacle for you to climb, right?
Actually, I have been the champion in grappling.
Oh, sorry, my bad.
Sorry, no. I've never won any like black belt titles in any Abu Dhabi, nothing. But I did. I won the blue belt world title in the gi, and then the purple belt no gi. So it's like I'm no stranger to the top heap of the grappling arts, but I'm not trying to pursue that. That's not what I'm trying to do right here. Like, it's just a little bit of fun for me on the side, keep myself a bit competitive, and then alongside everything else I'm doing. So I don't by no means do I need to chase a world title in grappling, but we'll see how things go. I enjoy the art.
Well, you mentioned Nick Rodriguez. He's a runner-up of the ADCC 2019 in the plus 99 kilogram division. If you go through a guy like that, I mean, of course, a lot of people are expecting you to win, but a lot of the jiu-jitsu people the jiu-jitsu guys are probably thinking Nick is going to do it. But if you beat Nick, would you be aiming to sort of take on some of the biggest names in the sport, guys like Craig Jones, guys like Gordon Ryan, these kinds of guys that have sort of been making headlines all over the world?
I've rolled with Craig. I've rolled with Gordon. I go with Marcus Buchecha all the time. I'm very capable of doing what I need to do, But I'm just gonna have fun. I'm gonna take it one at a time. I'm gonna go out there and try to put this dude away, put him to sleep, and then I think beating the guy who took second in Abu Dhabi at heavyweight, I think they should say something. So I'm okay.
What you mentioned it before? What do you think about a lot of these grapplers who sort of are specialists at leg locks? Like we saw Lockie Giles, he went into the ADCC Absolute division and took a bronze medal at the ADCC 2019 by being able to leg lock a lot of these guys. What is your take on jiu-jitsu at the moment, and I suppose these specialists who are coming in and winning?
I'm a little disappointed, truthfully, to be honest. Jiu-jitsu, when I started back in the day, it was based off self-defense. And self-defense where, when I went down to Brazil and like you'd have two guys attacking you at once. And it's based off self-defense where it's like you're defending yourself in a, on the street. You're not going to fucking drop to your ass and butt scoot up to these guys and go for a leg lock. You're going to get stomped in the face. So, I mean, all these guys that completely compromising themselves and going up and underneath and just you're a fucking sitting target and you're doubling the force of every punch potentially that would happen. So I like jiu-jitsu, which is more real, where it's more real life kind of, where you're going out of the sport jiu-jitsu, this leg lock revolution thing. I don't know. I'm kind of annoyed by it. And, It's always about putting yourself in an advantageous situation, in a real life situation, for jiu-jitsu. That's where my belief was always jiu-jitsu. So you see it change. It's a little annoying, but those are my thoughts.
I like it though. I like when someone goes into something like grappling with sort of like a different mindset with the aim to change things up and shake things up. I'm just wondering, we never did get to see yourself versus Jon Jones in MMA and the UFC, but do you think maybe this opens the door for you versus Jon Jones in a grappling comp? I feel like that's where you wanted to test yourself against Jon Jones anyway, right?
I have no interest, and I don't think he does either. So I think he's gonna do his thing, and I'm just gonna have a little fun on the side. I don't take this stuff too seriously. You know, I'm not pursuing world titles. This is not my job. It's just fun, and that's what it is. And a little competition. That's all. It's a little fun.
Because we here at UFC 239 in the back, we've got a gossip girl in the house, and she told us there's a little bit of back and forth backstage between you and Jon Jones or something. Is that right? Was there a bit of trash talk at some point? UFC 239 in the back?
I wouldn't say trash talk. You keep it friendly. You know, me and Jon have always been cool, and friendly competition. That's all.
Do you see anybody sort of? It looks like Dominic Reyes is next. Obviously, he beat Chris Weidman. Do you see anybody as a threat to Jon Jones sort of in the near future now that you've sort of exited the division? Do you think there's anybody that sort of stands a chance?
I mean, he's not looking as good as he used to, but I still feel like he's tactical enough to get through most of these guys. Corey Anderson, man, you got to give the guy some credit.
He's on fire.
Somebody's got to give the guy some credit. You know, he's bringing it, and he's emotional, and he'll fucking. He seems like the most logical contender right now. I don't think everybody else. I mean, it's not marketable, but he's the most logical.
I feel like, and you mentioned it, Corey Anderson kind of has this massive chip on his shoulder. Everybody wrote him off against Johnny Walker, and then he went in and kind of shocked the world and not only beat him, but beat him on the feet. Do you think with this amount of momentum behind him, this amount of fire, he might even be the guy to go in and give Jon Jones a massive challenge, especially with his wrestling?
Yeah, but Dana doesn't like him. So, no. Yeah, so back to the political side of things, that doesn't work out for a lot of people.
Are you kind of happy that you don't have to deal with the politics anymore? At least that's one of the plus sides of being out of the fight game with the UFC.
I'm pretty happy.
We'll let you go.
I was just going to jump in, Cass. Corey Anderson, not only maybe not getting the next title shot, but also fined $10,000 for those dance moves at UFC 244. Yeah, so poor guy. Things just don't end up working out from him. As we wrap up, Luke, what can fans expect from this Polaris 12 match? By the way, people can check this out on UFC Fight Pass. I know a lot of people will be checking that out. It's November 30th in the US and 31st in Australia. What can people expect?
Well, I'm training and I'm working with the best people in the world, and they expect the best from me. And I expect the best from myself. And I expect to put this man to sleep. So, it's going to be fun.
Can't wait, man. Luke Rockhold, back to active competition. Make sure you guys watch Polaris 12. It's going to be on UFC Fight Pass November 30th in the US. It's going to be the 31st in Australia, obviously because of the time difference. And, of course, follow the man on Insta, at Twitter, at Luke Rockhold. Luke, you know it. You know we've been wanting to interview you for a very long time. So we really appreciate you jumping on, giving us the time, a lot of time, and even being kind enough to jump on Skype video, man. Always grateful. Thank you so much.
Cheers, boys.